All right, welcome back to First Year Presidents, the quick podcast for new presidents who are just coming into organizations. You may have been a president before, you may not, but you get in and you find maybe things aren't exactly as you thought they would be in terms of systems and people. This podcast, the purpose is to talk to experts in the field, other presidents, and other knowledge workers who know what to do about the various sides and aspects of this situation. My guest today is Jeremy DeMerchant. He's the CEO of Permission to Sell Consulting Group, host of the Sales Team Rescue podcast, and founder of SalesEdge.io. That is an all-in-one sales and automation platform. I was just checking that out. It helps business owners build affiliate programs and put their businesses on autopilot. Like if you're a consultant or a coach, that kind of thing. Very, very
Absolutely.
useful. But I'm sure bigger companies could use it for too. Today's episode is brought to you by Internal Business Intelligence by Cold Star Technologies, the secret weapon to finally get help on your side, not just some assessment from a consulting company that visits and then runs away. And it's for new presidents who want real control over applying the vision, what they had in their heads over the business and executive team that they just inherited. So if you're struggling with that, maybe you've got a big performance bonus out there that's promised, but you've looked and you're like, there's no way I'm getting there. Come and talk to us. Visit coldstartech.com/IBI for more information. So Jeremy, welcome, as he takes a glug.
Thank you.
Not of booze. But Jeremy and I have known each other a long time. What we wanted to talk about today, I guess, we're both sales trainers, right? So let's talk about a new president who has come into an organization, maybe manufacturing, logistics firm, something like that, 15 to 500 people. And I know that's a big spread, but they've inherited an executive team and maybe a sales team as well. And that sales team is really important, right? It's the revenue generating engine of the business. So what should a new CEO or a new president focus on when it comes to a sales team? And even if there is like a director of sales or a sales manager in place already, right? So they don't maybe run over the feet of that person, but also you want to make sure that that revenue stream is operating the way it should.
Well, first of all, Jason, thanks for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. I think that for me, and I'll actually go back to before I started my consulting company in what I call a previous life, when I was running sales teams, I had the opportunity to be put in a company in a director position in a place that was, we'll say that it was a little bit of a hostile environment. I was coming in from the outside. There was some, I don't say trauma, but I'll say drama anyway. And everybody looked at me like with suspicion. I was someone that was put in place by someone that they didn't like. And so I instantly was working against what I would call the trust wall. The first thing that I did, and this is also now what I teach my clients, is it comes down to listening. Nobody wants you to come in and start taking, I mean, somebody might, maybe the person that put you in the position, maybe wants you to come over and like really shake things up. But the people that are on your team, the front line, the middle management, those are the people that are making the machine run. And if you go and just start throwing commands and demands all over the place, people are going to have this natural resistance, and that's not going to get you where you want to be nearly as quickly. And if you do manage to get where you want to be, it's going to be temporary, because as soon as the people fighting the battle alongside you or in front of you decide that you're not worth fighting for or fighting with, you're done. So like the first thing I would say is you want to assess. You want to sit back, you want to listen and assess where things are at. Get a feel for what the dynamic is, who gets along with who. Take a look at the systems that are in place or not in place as well. What's the reporting setup? What technology do you have access to? Do you have a dashboard that you can see into CRMs, watch the sales processes go? And I think the tech is really important, which we can also dig into. But more important than the tech is absolutely the people. The people that are front line are the ones that not only are making the machine really move, they're the first experience your prospects and customers have with your company. And they're essentially you. And so you want them to be huge fans of you as a person so that they feel like they want to impress you. They want to do good for you. They want to do right by you and not just, clock in and clock out.
So what would you say to a president? Maybe they've even been a president before and got away without doing this last time because they had a great sales team and a great sales management team in place. And now you're saying get in there and actually go to ground level and get to know these guys. I have a feeling there's some presidents who are resistant to that and going, well, wait a minute, I should be operating things in an Olympian manner, delegating. I should trust my people. Maybe I should get to know the vice president of sales. But below that, why do I have to go and get to know these people and my frontline sales team? Like if it's a 250 person company and there's a 10-person sales team, let's elaborate on that. Why
Yeah,
should they
well,
get to know these individuals?
so I liken this to an analogy that my dentist once gave me. My dentist said you only need to floss around the teeth you want to keep, which instantly makes me go, "Oh, I guess I want to floss around all my teeth."
Right.
It's the same way with your sales team, with your anyone that's frontline client facing. You only need to build relationships and trust with the frontline that you want to keep. And so the ones that you don't, they will disappear. And they could disappear with you having to let them go or them quitting. And maybe there's, in the process of that, there's some big backlash or they throw a fit and create some negative PR for the company. Who knows what could happen? And so, and I don't want you to come at it from the perspective of like defense. This isn't really the goal here,
Mhm.
but there are things that you may need to defend against if you're coming in too hot. I would say be curious. Like
Mhm.
be sincerely curious about what drives people. Like people want to know that they matter.
Mhm.
It's like when we, in the sales world, when we talk about networking, if you go in and just talk about yourself, no one wants to talk to you. But if you spend an entire conversation asking someone else what they do and what matters to them, they will think you are the most interesting person in the room. And it works the same way. People just want to know that they matter. The person that you're replacing probably didn't care. They probably didn't have that relationship. And so this is going to feel like a breath of fresh air. And if there's already any kind of resistance to the new guy coming in and taking over, that'll help disperse that. So
Yeah.
absolutely, have the conversation with everybody. And it doesn't have to be like all at once or all the time, but I would build in some type of frontline check-in and, clear it with if there's a VP of sales in between you and them. Absolutely make sure that they're in the conversations, like they know what's going on, and don't let them feel threatened because they're your eyes and ears, for the
Right.
sales team. But if you say, look, my goal here is to really have everybody all aligned. And that's actually the second step in the
Mhm.
framework is alignment. We want to make sure that everyone feels like we're considering their goals alongside ours or aligning our targets alongside them. And just being able to have that interaction helps build more trust and faith in the company. And so it's like the Wolf of Wall Street says the customer needs to have confidence in you being the person that can deliver something, the confidence in the company, and the confidence in the product.
Mhm.
Right. Well, you as a salesperson absolutely need to have the confidence in the company. And so as the president or high level executive, you got to give them that, right? They got to believe, otherwise they're not going to do any work for you, or at least not at the level that they should be.
That makes sense. You come at it from the perspective of a new president coming in and wanting to make their mark in the company. They've got a vision. Well, this has everything to do with vision, right? Getting in there and
Absolutely.
making sure that sales team is exemplifying those values and doing what you would like them to be doing, not necessarily what they've been doing. There's a fellow named Robert Kaplan who wrote a book, What to Ask the Person in the Mirror. And he's got a couple of great talks about it. One of them's from the Kansas City Public Library on YouTube. I highly recommend that one. I don't know where the Kansas City Public Library got the funding for what they do, but for a while there, at least, they were doing pretty well. And one of the things that he said is you should be saying the values and what you expect out of your employees so often they begin to mock you. Right? And when I first heard
Totally.
that, it made me laugh. But what it means is that they know what to do when you're not there, when you're not in the room, when you're not available for them to call and ask, how should I approach this? They know what to do. And so, as you're saying, really the only way to get that across is not sending a letter down from the ivory tower, right? And, thou shalt follow this, but actually getting down into the trenches for a little while. You're not there forever. But that feedback loop that you talked about, where there is a frequent check-in, is probably a good idea, because this is the revenue engine of your company. So, all right, what's the next step that you'd recommend them for new presidents once they get that alignment in place?
Yeah. So once that alignment is there, part of the alignment is actually to make sure the performance and those KPIs that they're communicated clearly. but often you're going to try to measure too much. I'm a big fan of having lots of data, but you want to make sure that what you're measuring aligns with what your sales team is measuring. I'm a big fan of making sure that like the commission structure, the comp plan is very simple for someone to calculate how much they're going to make based on their results. I know that might not apply to every sales team, but my goal is when I work with sales reps and sales managers, how do we design a comp plan that gives them a clear path to 10K months? If you can show it, they don't have to get it day one, right? But they need to know how to get there and understand clearly what can get them there. That's kind of the starting point. Then you can balance the salary with the commission, but keeping the metrics simple, 3 to 5 KPIs max, and giving like 1 to 2 priorities from the get go, it's going to create that momentum. Because when you're coming in, they may be great, and if they're like total rock stars, you want to get to know them and you want to protect them.
Mhm.
Let them know that you're fighting for them. But for the entire team, like get very specific, very focused on what you're measuring and let them know so that they've got a chance to show you how on board they are.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that's going to be
Yeah.
really key.
So keep it simple. They don't
Yep.
need too many things to think about because it
Nope.
then we moved from unconscious competence back into conscious competence, and now we're tripping over each other, right? Trying
Yep.
to get all these steps done. And I like that. It's a very simple feedback loop. Like, are you promoting the things that I want you promoting? Right? It's very
Right.
easy
Yeah.
to see. And I like the $10,000 a month commission or salary plus commission target because it's within the money tolerance of most people. I talk about that a lot. How much is a lot of money to the individual? It's a different number for everybody. But for frontline, regular, say inside salespeople, right? I would have been very happy to make $10,000 a month in 1999 when I was selling industrial control equipment, right?
Yep.
I made about, I think, 3 or 4 thousand, right? And I had no path. It was all inbound. And all I could control was, do I answer the phone, right? And a little bit and I had no sales process back then, by the way, either. I knew
Mm-hmm.
nothing except the technical side of the equipment, right?
Yep.
So, I was looking at sales want ads just to keep up
Mm-hmm.
with what was going on LinkedIn. And I like to spy in there occasionally. And there was one where they said, you should be targeting $12,000 a month in revenue for the company. And that, yeah, Jeremy just gave me a look, and I agree.
Yeah.
Like I
That's
immediately went, "What? There's nothing
gonna
in
starve.
there for the
Yeah.
staff, right? You're just gonna
Yeah.
starve." So a good target like that with an easy feedback loop to understand is going to be a godsend to these guys on the front line. You'll be like, "Oh, now." There is something about touching comp plans. Some people will just throw up their hands and quit regardless of whether the
Yep.
new comp plan is better than the old. They just don't like it
Mhm.
being touched. So you have to be ready for that. I think there are some cases where, it's like, let's just jump in and change it and we'll suffer in the short
Well,
term.
and I think if we go back to like the assess stage, it like you don't want to make too big of a wave
Mm-hmm.
because if someone, I don't know why I'm getting into a surf analogy because I couldn't surf to save my life, but you know, if someone comes in and puts up a big wave and you're not expecting it, like you're gonna get knocked over, and you don't want your team to feel like they're getting knocked over. So I wouldn't just come in and revamp it. I would first have, do these interviews. You can make them feel formal or casual,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want, but ask people how they feel about them. And what you'll find is typically the people that, I mean, this is obviously isn't the case across the board, but a lot of the times the people that are mediocre performers love their comp plan because it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't push them enough. The
Yeah.
people that are top performers are probably looking elsewhere because their comp plan doesn't really reward them the way that it could. And so one of the, I don't know if the tricks is the right word, one of the strategies that I use in certain situations, and basically to really simplify it here, I just make sure that when someone looks at the comp plan and looks at the metrics that are important, they can see like, I need to do this, this, and this. And if I do it consistently and work hard, I can get to 10K plus per month. And one of the functions that I often build into comp plans is a tiered process. So you get to this level tier. I don't do the every sale after that's worth more. I make it every sale entirely is worth more.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're driving people that are maybe not as high performing going, oh, there's now a financial incentive for me to
Mm-hmm.
get that sixth sale or 16th sale or whatever the number is based on what you're selling, to move that. And if you sit down and show them what that can equal in a comp plan, it
Right.
can make all the difference. So you might not need to make the change, but if it's really convoluted and hard to understand, and that's how everybody
Yeah.
feels, then I would say, don't change in the middle of a pay period, so that they're gonna, shift what they're doing, but say effective next quarter or whatever window you
Yeah.
want to set, um, introduce the new structure.
Okay. I like that a lot. And I like the incentive to get paid for more for work you already did by
Yeah.
by doing further work.
Yeah.
As owners, we don't necessarily have that option. We might get hired to do further work based on stuff we've done, but that's an interesting incentive for salespeople. I like that a lot. Okay, is there another step after that?
Yeah. So the third piece, I'll call it accelerate, but this is basically you as a leader. And what are you doing to show them that you're really leading the path? You're walking the walk, or walking the talk, I guess. You're then part of the process and reinforcing the urgency, and making sure that your team is obsessing over the clients. Like, this is a big deal. This isn't like, oh, I got a sale, I'm going to go take a 2 hour break to celebrate. Like, we're changing the culture, but it has to start with you as the leader. And if there is a VP of sales in the mix, bring them in and make sure that they're doing the same thing. Because if they're in a spot where they're defensive and paranoid and thinks someone's going to steal their job, you might need to get rid of them, because there's a lot of people in those roles that aren't real leaders. They were maybe good salespeople. You get stuck into a manager's job, and that's usually not a great fit. I was always like, top 3 salespeople made me a great leader. Number 1, you don't want to take number 1 off the phones. Make too much money. That's an important balance. But it really comes down to, like, how do you back up what you talked about? How do you talk about, like, in a one-on-one meeting, maybe? Like, I would say meet with the reps once a quarter. Like, at least get to see each person once a quarter, and maybe just checking. Hey, want to know how things are going? Want to
Yeah.
check in? Oh, you mentioned last time your goal was this. How is that coming? Like, just make sure that you're not just showing up day one and being buddy buddy with everybody, but you're actually representing, like, you remember their name, you remember that their kid was gonna do their first dance recital, whatever it was. Make sure that matters, because that leadership is what drives them. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves, and if you can also allow their dream to fit into that, you've got the perfect formula. So
Mhm.
build their dream into your vision and show them that it matters, and then just kind of rinse and repeat. Like, it's
Yeah.
just,
Now that
keep showing
that
up.
system and that feedback loop is in place, so yeah, there's probably a flywheel
Yeah.
concept happening in there.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess because you're not gonna stay there as president, right? You're gonna go back up to strategic level, but this is an important place to start. We've got a couple minutes left. What haven't we covered that you'd like to share with new presidents?
I think one of the biggest things is part of that relationship and trust building with the frontline reps.
Hmm.
When someone gets an early win, make sure you're there to celebrate it. Show them that you truly are as enthusiastic about it as they are, because then they're going to love that you're paying attention,
Hmm.
right? You see some people that you're just meeting for the first time, and suddenly you're seeing really good sales results pop up. Reach out, hey, I love what you're doing. Tell me, what's making you stand out from everyone else. And then that does two things. One, makes them feel great, but two, gives you resources to make the rest of the team improve. And the other piece that I think is the absolute most important piece of all of this, and it really does fit into this accelerate piece, but it's also, for me, was always just almost a law of the land when coming in and managing a team of people in any context. It's celebrate publicly and critique privately. Allow it to be reciprocal. I've always told my teams, look, you can call me anything you want under the sun when we're in a private closed door. You can tell me you hate my guts if you want. I don't care. But the moment you call me out on something in front of the group and you impact anybody else's day or anyone else's performance, then we have a problem. Because I won't do that to you. If there's something that you're doing amazing, I'm going to tell the world, I'm going to give you all the credit. And publicly, if there's something going wrong on my team, I need to own it. I can't publicly put any onus on them, but one-on-one stuff when we're coaching and trying to improve things, it's also my job to make sure those get discussed
Right.
so that publicly everybody feels and looks like a rock star. and you're the one taking the hit publicly, and privately, you're just going, how do we do better? How do we get better? How do we fix things?
Right. Well, some great points on leadership there. Today's conversation was sponsored by Internal Business Intelligence by Cold Star Tech. IBI is something you can't get anywhere else. Real insights and people working on your side to help you as a new president get that new vision in place there. Not just assessment and reports and the consulting company running away. So check out coldstartech.com/IBI for details. My guest today has been Jeremy DeMerchant, CEO of Permission to Sell Consulting Group. Go check out his podcast, the Sales Team Rescue Podcast, and also his company that takes care of sales and automation. It's a platform called salesedge.io, helping business owners build affiliate programs and put their business, this sounds really great, on autopilot. Jeremy, thanks for doing this. Where can people catch up with you and connect with you?
My main consulting website is permissiontosell.com. Again, salesedge.io as well. Reach out through those sites and you'll get me. You can also hunt me down on LinkedIn or Facebook. Just search my name, Jeremy DeMerchant. I'll be there.
Right on. Thanks for being my guest.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.